This is Home Games. That is Steve Milton from the Hamilton Spectator, Bubba O'Neill from CHCH TV Sports, Rick Zamprin from 900 CHML Radio. I'm Scott Radley from the Hamilton Spectator and 900 CHML. And Bubba, we have been lucky this year in baseball because we've had, a bunch of good stories, but two really intriguing stories. Shohei Ohtani, who is remarkable and having a remarkable season, and Vlad Guerrero, who was mediocre in his short time with the Jays before, and then this year has gone crazy. They are now your two probably leading MVP candidates in the AL. But I want to ask you a question. You're a baseball executive. You're starting an expansion team. You can take Ohtani or you can take Guerrero to build your team around. Which one do you take?
I can't take 31-year-old Salvador Perez.
Well, you could, although that'll probably be the last day on the job.
He may win the American League Triple Crown. So you know what? Hey, I think you have to look at Shohei Ohtani because I know that Vladimir Guerrero has really, really impressed and really settled into his transition from third base to first base. But anytime you have a guy that hits 256 with 44 home run, and he's going to have over 100 RBI in the end. He may even hit 50 home run. And then you turn that around and you have a guy that goes 9-1 in 21 starts with a 3.36 ERA. Like that, those are we would look at 9-2 as a pitcher with a 3.36 ERA, a whip of 1.12. We would think about that maybe as an MVP candidate right there alone as a Cy Young winner. So I think I got to look at the guy that plays two positions really, really well, which is something really we have not seen since in 100 years.
Never.
Yeah. If this is 3 months ago, I don't think this is even a discussion. And I'll throw something in here. You said expansion team, okay? So that means you got a bunch of guys that aren't really good, right? So including shortstops and second basemen. Suddenly, Guerrero is no longer a career DH. He's a bona fide, bordering on Gold Glove first baseman. He's going to handle the ball how many times a day? How many times a game? 30? With some very weak fielders potentially. Look at how many errors he's already saved Bo Bichette alone in the first half of the season. So I think the discussion becomes a lot tighter about this now on this specific question because he can hit for average. He can do an awful lot of things. He plays all of the time in a position where the ball comes to him all the time. I don't think I would still take him over Ohtani, but it's a lot closer than it would have been 3 months ago.
This is like the 2000 slam dunk competition. It's over. There's no real discussion here because if you're a general manager and you're giving me two all-stars at two different positions, including a pitcher, it's end of story. It's Shohei Ohtani every day and twice on Sunday because this guy can do it at the plate and he can do it on the mound. And Vladdy can certainly do it at the plate and in the field. Let's not forget Shohei Ohtani also has 23 steals this season as well. So he can knock it around and run around and strike guys out. I will say this, though. Vladdy is first, second, or third in average, home runs, hits, total bases, runs, on-base percentage, slugging percentage, OPS, wins above replacement, and RBI. Shohei Ohtani is top 3 in home runs. That's it. In saying that, Shohei Ohtani is my pick.
I'll tell you why I don't agree with you, Rick, even though you and what Bubba said. Bubba's numbers about Ohtani as a pitcher are remarkable. His performance, even Babe Ruth, when he played two sports, was not dominant at both positions. He was a very good pitcher, and then he was a really great hitter.
Think he threw 95.
No. And so this is not even in 100 years. I don't think we've ever seen this before. But I'll tell you why. Ohtani's now all of a sudden got himself a bit of an injured elbow, and they're saying he may be shut down as a pitcher for the rest of the year. This is going to be something that I don't think.
Just to update. He's making. I just read this. He's making a scheduled start on Sunday.
All right. Either way, the reality is that the Angels at some point are going to sit there and go, "Are we willing to risk having this guy blow out his elbow when we need him at the plate so much?" I don't think we're going to see Shohei Ohtani be a pitcher/hitter for his whole career. I think it may be this year, maybe next year, but they're going to make a decision one way or the other. And if it just came down to a pure hitter, yes, he steals more bases, and yes, Vlad Guerrero, the risk is that when he gets his big contract, he balloons back to where he was and doesn't take care of himself. Mm-hmm. But I would still take Guerrero.
See, I lean towards Ohtani as well because he may not necessarily be a starter for the rest of his career, but he can certainly be a reliever. Maybe he's a closer. So he's still, he can still hit. But maybe he's that relief guy that you count upon when the chips are down. And you make a great point regarding the weight, whether he gets paid or not. I mean, there's always going to be that thought in the back of a general manager's mind, whether it's the Blue Jays or anybody else. Is Vladdy going to be fit and trim and hitting like he is for the rest of his career? It's probably a question mark.
It is some question mark based on past history, but I think something's flipped in him.
Agreed.
Now, I don't know him, and I wish I was covering that team, so I did. But I think something's flipped there. I think the injury factor is a bigger thing than people estimate. Vlad is extremely durable. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can go back to last year's bubble. I mean, or last year's shortened season. He's very durable, and he plays with a joie de vivre. And is that going to last into his late 20s? I don't think it has to. In this discussion, in the two prongs of this discussion, I don't think there's any choice that Ohtani is the guy on MVP. But I think it's a lot closer than if you were Spence, a lot closer than anybody would think. Partly, as Scott brought up, because of the potential injury factor, which if you take him out of pitching, now the discussion's not even close. For who you would have if you take the pitching away. It's not even close.
You know what, Scott? You talk about the injury factor with Ohtani and the fact that he's doing the double duty here. Put it from someone here that understands this, right? Even at Vladdy's weight loss, right? You're putting a lot of stress on your limbs, your knees, your ankles, even at his weight, playing at a professional thing. This cannot, even though he is playing first base, right? He's a big body guy, and I know he keeps himself in tremendous shape. But again, when you're carrying that kind of weight, your ankles, your knees are really, really suspect. And there could be one day where he's rounding second, and I would be really, really concerned about that. As to Shohei's numbers, I don't know. Is there a statistic that because this is so new for all of us. We have wins above replacement. But if you take Ohtani and you combine what he does as a pitcher and as a hitter in terms of wins and replacement, he would set a new record for the number.
No, it's actually not. No, Vladdy's still ahead. Vladdy's wins above replacement is 6.3 this season, and Shohei Ohtani is 4.9, and that's batting and pitching.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think WAR, as much as we lean on it, I think WAR proves what WAR wants to prove. It proves itself. I don't think it's a pure stat.
There's one other thing that I want to ask you about. We only have a very brief time here. The one thing we haven't talked about, because the question was if you were starting an expansion team and getting going. We're talking about the athlete. What about the personality? If you're starting, does that factor in at all? I mean, both guys seem to have that, as Steve says, joie de vivre. Does that? I mean, you don't have one who's sour and dour and brooding. They're both happy-seeming guys. Does that impact anything, or is that a wash between the two of them?
It's funny. Both use translators, right? A lot of the time, don't they?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Both even though they're marketable, I think it's a slam dunk from a publicity standpoint.
But they both speak good English, but they use translators.
I think Vlad's dad's going to tell him just keep going with the translator. This way, it's a lot easier in terms of the media. But
don't mess anything up.
Yeah, for sure. Rick, one more thing to your point there about the fact that, where you could play Vladdy in terms of his hitting statistics and being top 3 in almost every single category out there, top 4 at least. Let's also remember, too, he's got protection. He's got Bo in front of him, Marcus Semien, who is hitting the skin off the ball. I don't know. Ohtani doesn't even have Mike Trout with him at this point right now. So he's a lot more exposed out there as a hitter, and probably why his strikeouts are much higher than Vladdy at this point. I think that has to be remembered as well.
That does, now against my own argument, that does make Ohtani pretty scary if you have Trout suddenly hitting behind him though for a whole year. That's that goes against what I just said, but boy oh boy, you can't discount that. What do you think? You are a major league general manager. You get to pick one of them. Who would you pick? Do you agree with any of us? Or would you say you guys are missing it? There's someone else out there that's way better than either of these guys that I would start with. Maybe Perez, as Bubba says. And then, as I say, that may be your only day on the job. But okay, you made your splash and away you go. Our Twitter handles are up next. We'd love to hear you comment. We'd love to have you comment on this video. You can do that. You can also subscribe. We'd love for you to do that as well. Talk to you soon.